Snapchat is headed to London. The social media giant announcing it will make London its international headquarters. Joining us now with analysis is WSJ reporter Sam Schechner from our Paris bureau. Hi, Sam. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Sam, Snapchat's parent company, Snap, is now standing apart from other tech companies like Apple, Facebook, and Google, who chose non-U.S. bases in Ireland in an effort to get that more favorable tax rate. Is this London announcement perhaps a reaction to the tax issues many of those companies, namely Apple, are now dealing with?
I think in many ways it probably is. A lot of those companies set up their structures quite a while ago and have in recent years come under a lot of scrutiny. And in fact, there's an international effort afoot to change tax rules in a way that would, essentially block some of the more Baroque structures that these companies use, Baroque but legal, to move money through, say, Ireland, pay some taxes there, and then on to a tax haven. One of them is called the Double Irish. It goes out. It's going to be unavailable to those companies as of 2020, but it's actually blocked for new entrants right now. So Snap, as a new entrant to Europe, is maybe showing us a little bit what we can expect for other companies in the future.
That is very interesting. Now, of course, Snap is also gearing up for its anticipated $25 billion IPO. What significance do you think its IPO timing might have here?
Well, I definitely think that a company wants to get ahead of any tax issues it's going to have. If in the future companies are going to have to expect to pay a slightly higher tax bill, that they're not going to be able to let money pile up in Bermuda or the Cayman Islands, they're either going to have it attributed to Europe and tax there, send it back to the U.S. and have a tax there. It might make sense to have that in your books from the start of your public disclosures rather than having it for a couple of years and then taking a big hit.
So this move is likely to appease Snap's potential investors, but I see this as also a two-way street, and I'm curious what you think. I mean, this also looks to me like a victory for the UK, attracting a tech darling to UK shores despite post-Brexit uncertainties.
It definitely is somewhat of a victory for the UK. The UK, I mean, to be fair, Snap's main office overseas was already in the UK. They have about 75 people there, up from 6 a year ago. So they've been hiring pretty effectively there. Some of that, predates Brexit, but I think it's a sign of confidence that the country has, a good, stable tax system. I think for a lot of companies, if you're not a bank, if you're not facing very specific regulatory issues about the EU, maybe, from their point of view, it's all right. Some tech companies had expressed concern after the initial Brexit vote about whether or not they would have the same reign to hire people from across the EU and have them work in London. That remains a concern, but clearly, we have Apple announcing expansion plans, and now the Snap announcement. It's clear that companies are still looking at the UK and in particular London as a growth center.
Do we know if the British government offered Snap any particular incentives for choosing London?
We don't know. I don't know if they specifically offered incentives. That being said, the UK government has made a concerted effort to woo foreign direct investment and companies to come to its shores. They have a relatively attractive corporate tax rate, which makes them one of the lower in the EU, and they're lowering it further. So I think that for companies that were essentially paying zero, well, that's not that attractive. But once you kind of come to terms with the fact that you're going to have to pay corporate income tax on a large amount of your profit, well, then maybe you look around for what's the best environment, English speaking. There are a lot of companies that have big outposts in the UK, even if they aren't officially their headquarters.
It certainly makes sense, although it is worth noting that Snap doesn't make a profit, so it won't be posting a big overseas tax bill anytime soon, right, Sam?
Well, and that makes this kind of a free giveaway, right? If by the time they're posting big profits, all of these ornate tax avoidance systems are going to go away, then Snap can look really good and ahead of the game by saying we're going to be good corporate citizens today, and it doesn't actually cost them very much.
Right. And I guess also this is a vote of confidence for Brexit. They certainly don't seem scared.
It doesn't appear so.
All right. Sam Schechner in Paris, thank you so much for that.
Thanks for having me.